welcome to our exploration. We're going to continue to investigate our unit question, but in this activity, we're going to put all the pieces together and try to figure out what our learnings on weather have to do with the toxic algal bloom. So in our journey, we will be making two stops. In our first stop, we're going to practice reading a weather map and we're going to analyze an algal bloom diagram. And in our second stop, we're going to apply our learnings to a claim, evidence, and reasoning activity to make connections between weather and toxic algal blooms. So let's go ahead and begin. So in our first activity, we're going to learn about weather and its impact. And it's just a quick review on what we've discussed in our weather fronts video. So here we have a map or a portion of a map, and you have a front. And so your job is going to be to identify what front is affecting California and explain what type of weather its residents should be experiencing. So at this point, I want you to pause the video and just try to figure this out on your own. And when you're done, then you can press play so we can go over it together. So welcome back. If you selected cold front, you are on track. A cold front is a line in blue with triangles, or I call them shark teeth. And the triangles or the shark teeth point in the direction that the cold front is moving in. Now, let's go back to our simulation from the previous video to explore what type of weather cold fronts bring. So during a cold front, we have a cold air mass clash with a warm air mass and push it out of the way. And so as the cold front moves in, the warm air is then forced to move upwards. And so as it moves up, it starts forming clouds. Now keep in mind that cold fronts have a very steep slope. And so the kind of clouds that will form are larger clouds, followed by precipitation as the warm air rises. I'm going to replay this one more time. So you have a cold air mass clash with a warm air mass at a cold front, and it's pretty much going to push the warm air out of the way, and the warm air is going to start to rise since it's less dense. And as it rises up that steep slope, you're going to have some large clouds form. And the warm air is going to continue to rise, and eventually it's going to lead to precipitation. So now that we've warmed up and reviewed cold fronts, let's move on. And let's take a look at our diagram here. And what I want you to do is I want you to answer the boxes at the top on your own. So the first box is a notice box. And I want you to be a careful observer. So I want you to note down 3 observations from the diagram. And then for your think box, I want you to write down, based on your observations, what do you think is going on? So at this point, you should have completed your notice and think boxes at the top based on this diagram. So I'm going to go ahead and share some of my observations, and that way we can help each other out. So my first observation is that there is precipitation. My second observation is that there are factories and farms nearby. And my third observation is that the nutrients from the land are washing into the water. So what do I think is going on here? Well, I know that there's nutrients that are washing into the water and they're coming from the land. So based on the picture, they must be coming from the factories or the farms or both. But how are they getting into the water? That's something that I want to explore a little bit more. I think it might be that maybe the rain is washing them up, but who knows? That's what I think is going on. So let's go ahead and keep exploring so we can get some more concrete answers. So now that we've finished with our observations and our think box, let's go ahead and move forward. So we have some data here, and we want to review the data that we were given to try to make sense out of this, right? Because anytime we have a data table, it's trying to tell us something. And our job is to try to figure out what is this data table trying to communicate to us. So I'm going to focus on the years where there was toxic algal blooms to see if there's some kind of pattern going on. So 3 years ago, there was toxic algal blooms. The temperature was 80 and the annual rain was 37 inches, which is a good amount of rain. 1 year ago, there was an algal bloom again, pretty high temperature, right? And there was 31 inches of rain. And this year, there was another toxic algal bloom. Temperature is pretty warm, the average temperature for the summer, and the annual rain was 34 inches. So what I'm noticing here is that whenever there's a toxic algal bloom, there seems to be over 30 inches of annual rain that year. So based on my data analysis, I think there's a strong relationship between the annual rain amount in inches and the toxic algal bloom. You can also look at this from a cause and effect lens, and you can say that the cause is the amount of rain and the effect is whether you have a toxic algal bloom or not, right? So now that we've reviewed the data table, let's go ahead and look at our claim, evidence, and reasoning activity. I've included some questions and prompts to help guide you as you complete this graphic organizer for claim, evidence, and reasoning. So next to claim, I put the following question. Does an increase in precipitation increase or decrease toxic algal blooms? For your evidence portion, I want you to think about what data supports this from your weather learnings and your data table with quantitative data. And for your reasoning part, I want you to think about how an increase in precipitation changes the amount of nutrients available in bodies of water like Lake Temescal. I hope that this CER helps you think about the relationship between our learnings on weather and our situation at Lake Temescal with the toxic algal blooms. They're very much connected, and I just hope that this guides you as you try to explain the connection between both. Good luck. Feel free, and I encourage you to go back and review your learnings so that you can have a very detailed CER filled with quality data that we have gathered and explored together. Good luck.